Hi, my name is Agnes, and welcome with us today for this herb talk with Carmela from Örtfabriken, where we will talk about bitter herbs. We are so glad to share with this herbs talk with you. Um, we have been discussing about preparing this talk for a long time, and I was very glad that Carmela thought of me to exchange our experience, knowledge with herbs. So I am a plant ecologist, a medicinal plant grower and educator for Nordiska Örter, a herb farm situated in Uppsala, where we crop, process and sell herbs and host also workshop. And you, Carmelia, can you present yourself?
Yes, thank you. I'm Carmela. I'm from a Swedish herbalist. I'm actually living in Croatia now to complicate life a bit. But I have a strong passion for herbs and for holistic health. And that led me into the herbal path. And eventually I had this inspiration to create my own business. So this is Örtfabriken, where we offer mainly tinctures right now.
And in the previous talk, I had like the opportunity to a bit speak about myself and how I end up into the herbs world. And would you have a couple of words to say about you and how you end up getting interested into herbs?
Yeah, thank you. It's what comes to my mind now that we are talking, like the topic today is bitter herbs. I think like one way that I got into it, it was like maybe two ways. But when I was a younger adult, I had a lot of problem with my stomach. I got very sick because of a lot of parasites. I was living in Central America. And of course, then you get a lot of unwanted friends. So, and I took so many antibiotics, which really made my stomach go wild. And I'm like, when you destroy your stomach that way that I did, now we're talking like 25 years ago, you never get fully recovered. But
Mm-mm.
one way, like I worked so much to get like back into gut health, and one way was introducing bitter herbs. So really, like I done so many things, like taking away gluten, adding fermented food, eating a lot of bone broth. But of
Mm.
course, bitter herbs is one way for me to like keep the balance. And so that was one way into the herbal world, actually.
So I guess it's also why you love bitter herbs because
Yes.
it was so good for you. Or
Yeah. It's like really appreciating like the herbal world and what like all this like old knowledge that maybe we have lost a bit. That's like I'm really appreciating that it came to me.
hmm. So, to your experience, why it is important to add bitter herbs into our daily life?
I think really it's a bit, as I said, like lost knowledge. And like nowadays, we eat so much, many sweets. We add so much sugar. We have taken away so much of the bitterness in our daily food. And that's not good for us. It's not good for our digestion because bitterness is really helping out. It's like a message to our digestive enzymes or to our whole digestive tract to get started to work. And so we really like need to add bitterness. And a lot of our problems nowadays with IBS and bloating and feeling constipated and also not receiving like the nutrition we need is due to the way, of course, we eat. And it's so just adding a bit of bitterness would make a big difference, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Mm-mm. And you said so nowadays we are not eating or using so much bitter. So how was it before? What's the history of bitter herbs?
It's like when you look back in history, you can always like or if we take it like another way, like both me and you, we have roots from the south of Europe. My father was Italian, and you grew up in France. And there, like in Italy, there's so much bitterness, like daily. You eat so much bitter food, like rucola, like mangold, maybe I don't know the English word, chicory, a lot of bitter greens that you like fry with olive oil and garlic, or that you eat raw in your salad. And you also, that's one way, like people like the bitterness. And then there's a lot of like bitter, like also aperitif and digestivo, things that you take before and things that you take after food, and they are bitter. Like think of Campari or Fernet Branca, the herbal liquors. Everything is like to enhance digestion, and so that's what you can see. Like in history, there is a lot of bitterness, but then also when you come to herbal medicine, there's a lot of bitter blends.
Bitterness.
Yeah. And you
Mm-mm.
can see that like from like 1,000 years ago, you can see the first medicinal bitter blends where you make like elixirs with bitter herbs. And there are like a certain formulas. And we have, like in Sweden, we have I think it's more well known abroad than in Sweden, but we have our Swedish bitters.
Yes.
Yes, and they were developed by a Swedish doctor, and these Swedish bitters were so appreciated, and then they've been like exported and global. So also, if you see all the herbalists, like known herbalists during the centuries, there is always a bitter blend in most of our cultures, which is exactly for this, like helping us with digestion, and consequently also improving like our possibility to incorporate the nutrition in us.
Yeah. Also, what you said about the culture in Italy, so it's the same in France. So we have like the aperitif, which this is a point of opening, like preparing the stomach to receive food, and often it's a liquor. And depending like which region of France you are, this liquor is prepared differently. But it's very common, like the mountain, like in the Alp region. So I think the Alp region in Italy is maybe where the like bitter culture is greater than in other part of France. So this wasn't a big thing in my region. But how many times I heard older people saying like dandelion leaves or just dandelion or just a go plant in winter. Like they just eat dandelion because it was at least in countryside, because people were poor, which it was their like winter salad. Of course, dandelion is less bitter in winter, but the leaves, it's still like quite bitter plant you used to take daily to have some greens to it in France. So so dandelion is really like a bitter plant that has been eaten for centuries in France.
Yeah. And I went harvesting here in Croatia, where I am now, like also the same region that we are talking about. And they are eating so many green leaves that I haven't even seen them in Sweden. They eat like broccoli leaves, cauliflower leaves. This now in the market, they sell all these. Like you can find in Sweden, maybe we only find like rucola that it's bitter, or endive salad. But here, 10 different leaves that you can like. It's fantastic. I think, and it's so tasty and good. It's really like life energy for us.
Well, that's why also it's good like to grow your own food, because you can have access to all these leaves of green. I do use them because it's like so much waste, and everything in broccoli is eatable. Not only the head, the broccoli head, but the leaves. Yeah, totally.
True.
And what is for you like as you make a bitter blend? So what is for you like the best blend of bitter herbs, and which herbs are in this blend?
I try to really
And why? Yeah,
and
would you
why?
say that?
Yeah, I really try to like follow like our inherited recipes, and Hildegard of Bingen.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-mm.
a nun from I'm bad at remembering exactly, from the 1400th century, I
I
think.
think so. Yeah, it's from
Yeah.
like Middle Age. Yeah.
She has a fantastic set of remedies, and she studied. She was a scientist and a nun and also a mystic, and she blended all these knowledge into a lot of like for us that we have inherited. And for example, when it comes to medicinal herbs, she had a lot of remedies, and one of these is the bitter blend. And
Mm.
so in Örtfabriken, when I have made our blends, I have like got inspiration a lot from her and
Mm.
adapted it to like our modern times. And when you look at bitter blends, there's always bitter plants and mainly bitter roots. We talk about
Mm.
that.
Mm.
Then you need to add aromatic plants,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
the aromatic plants are like putting fire to
Mm.
the roots, making them more active, and it also giving support so we can like receive this bitterness in a proper way.
Mm.
So I think also when like I have written a lot about bitter plants on Örtfabriken's blog, but um, I think you have to like mix like the very bitter with the slightly bitter, and that's the perfect combination. So I have like the softer bitters are like burdock root, a wild plant, and dandelion that we have talked about, maskrosrot, of course. And then you have like heavier bitters like gullgentiana in Swedish,
As
and
a yeah, yeah, I know.
gentiana, yeah.
Gentian. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I also use yellow dock, which is kruskräpa,
Yeah.
also wild,
Yeah.
wild plant.
Yeah. Or I think very common here it's krusskräpa, but gårdskräpa
Ah, okay.
also, which is kind
Mm.
of more Nordic krusskräpa kind. But yeah.
All right.
But yeah,
And
you have probably krusskräpa in your, but yeah, in
yeah,
here, like I forage for gårdskräpa,
okay,
because at the
gotcha.
beginning I was confounding them, but then some research and
Yeah,
gårdskräpa is one most common in Sweden.
yeah,
Mm.
true.
But it's used in the
Yeah,
same way than krusskräpa. Yeah.
yeah. And so these are mainly roots, and then like in my bitter blend that Fabriken has these happy bitters. We also use the aromatic plants that we use are fennel
Ah.
and bockhornsklöver. Oh my goodness, it's such a fantastic little
Mm.
aromatic seed.
Okay.
I don't get it, but when it's Oriental, so when you like,
Okay.
you
Mm-mm.
can I can almost feel it now that I talk about it.
Mm.
And, so these are like the combinations. Then I have also added like I have bitter herbs, I have aromatic herbs, and then I
Mm.
also add marshmallow root, läkemalva root, for the soothing effect.
Mm.
So I have
Mm.
like
Yes.
a trinity of
I
herbs.
see.
Like,
Yes, because you
yeah.
make me a lot of think about the energy of the plant. Since bitter herbs are quite cooling, the
Yeah.
aromatic herbs are quite warming,
Yeah.
and bitter herbs are quite drying too. So
Hmm.
adding marshmallow kind of it's more like moisturizing.
Yeah.
So maybe I would say like from outside like this to what you are talking about, maybe it makes this blend more balanced, so
Mhm.
fitting for more people. Like because if it will be too warming, like for people who are like, we can speak about it more later, but sensitive to warm will not be so beneficial for them, but for the cool one, it will be very beneficial.
Yeah.
So maybe the fact that it's kind of balance between all this energy make it like a go-to for many people.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
definitely is. It's like highly appreciated. And I think that really like adding bitterness is highly appreciated by everybody.
Mm.
really. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Okay. Oh, so for example, so I do also grow some bitter plant. So I was thinking you have not. I was like into your like mild plant. I was expecting more mild bitter, like for example, as a German chamomile or like chamomile. So that is the German chamomile and the Roman chamomile. And the Roman chamomile, it's a bit more like a bitter, but they are still more milder than dandelion. So these are two like that I grow,
Right.
and I forage, of course, for dandelion root and burdock root, and we have also like what about wormwood, like
Mhm.
Artemisia absinthium. I think we also
Fantastic.
make the digestive from it, like an aperitif
Yeah.
in France, and uh, extremely bitter.
Yes.
No?
Yes. Mm.
Yeah.
And maybe some people, like also when now it's such a long time that I developed happy bitters for
Yeah.
Örtfabriken. So I don't really like, I was of course evaluating different type of
Mm,
combinations. And I think maybe wormwood and mugwort, I'm a bit like the wild and the cultivated friends, are maybe a bit fantastic bitters, but maybe some people are a bit sensitive to them.
yeah. Mm.
Mm.
And what about Angelica?
Our growing in the Nordic,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
Angelica is great.
it
It's
is
just
fantastic.
it's by itself bitter and aromatic,
Yeah,
and it smells so good.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
great for the digestive system.
yeah. It is. It is. Many
Mm.
use it, and it's yeah, it's quite nice.
What's your experience with Angelica?
Um, I have more used it as like not as a digestive. I have more used it as a hormonal balancer.
Mm. Okay.
And I do like it. It's difficult to explain, but some herbs has a. I think also it has something like a heart opener.
Mm.
It is something, and it has affected me quite heavily. So I'm a
Okay. Yeah.
bit cautious on using it. I think I
Mm.
used it for a while, our Angelica, the Nordic one, and then I
Yeah.
have used the Chinese Angelica.
Mm.
And for hormonal balancing, I think that the Chinese Angelica is much more for me. It's much more
Mm.
comforting, soothing. Our Angelica in from the Nordic countries is like boom, like
Yes. It's very yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm.
so. That's why also I haven't used it in my bitter blends.
Ah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm. So, Abby, is there anything more you want to add about bitters today?
Yes, I could say something very important when you use bitter herbs. I think like there are so many friends and people and the customer who has used this happy bitters. And now I talk,
Mm,
of course, all bitter blends because these are like extracted herbs. They are quite potent.
mm,
And many people who use them who have like stomach problems need to be a bit aware like what kind of stomach problems do you have like uh,
mm,
uh, like if you simplify you can say that you can have like upper digestive tract problems like heartburn, like a bit of cramping, discomfort, or maybe you have pain. These are like the upper parts. Then you have the lower parts of the stomach, problems with that can be like, when you have eaten, you have bloating, you have like constipation. It can also be the opposite, that you have like too loose stools, you have diarrhea, but you're like
mm,
like this is a way of simplifying it. Usually if you have like the upper problems, then you need to be more careful. Like also, like if you take something bitter, it can burn you, it can give you
mm,
discomfort.
mm,
So if you go for bitter blends, which are beneficial for all, but you have to be really careful with the dosage. Maybe you take 2-3 drops, or you just add like rucola or parsley to your meals. But if you take the bitter drops, take them afterwards and take just 2-3 bitter drops. But if you have this other type of like the lower gastrointestinal tract discomforts, like bloating after meals, IBS, more like this type, take the drops preferably before the meal. They say like the perfect is like 15 minutes before. I never remember that. I always take them afterwards, which is of course fine. But the people who are really experiencing like benefits are the ones who have bloating.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So then you don't have to be as careful with the dosage. Yeah. That's
and would you have some time, or would you like to speak also a bit about any effect on the liver at the bitter herbs? Because I don't know if you have any like thought on that. When we think about lion root or burdock root, like often bitter herbs are also great for balancing the liver, so supporting the liver function. So what do you have anything to say about it? Or?
Yeah, definitely. Like when you talk about the herbal medicinal world, it's so important to like the main thing that you want to take care of is your liver. And constantly giving support to your liver, strengthening your liver, but also cleansing your liver, detoxifying. And usually when you look at old herbal medicine, there's always like a detoxing aspect. You always have to like help yourself, like detoxing, and maybe you do it once a year or twice a year, or when you are sick. So of course, all the bitter herbs have this positive effect on your gastrointestinal health, but also they are super great support for your liver support.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have mentioned many of them, like burdock, like dandelion. You mentioned Artemisia species, and all these heavier, like gentiana. And of course, many people know about milk thistle.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's also like the second part of where you get benefits. Usually when you work with the herbs, they can give you like many things, and they help you with some physical aspects, and then you can almost always rely on some that they will also give you nutrition. Yeah. Yeah. Would you agree?
Sorry?
Would you agree? Do you?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Actually, I will use this kind of plant when I want some effect on my liver rather than on my digestion, because I have not much problem, digestive problem, but which I had IBS actually for 2 years. Like it took me a bit, but because I changed my diet quite much, and it caused me like I was eating a lot of vegetables and a lot of like all the vegetables that contain sulfur, onion, cabbage, lentils. So I was trying to be a bit vegetarian and eating local. So it was like a lot of like this kind of plant that grow in the north, so a lot of the winter crops, and it has quite damaged my stomach. And it took me about a year or two to get back. So I tried with gluten, I tried with lactose, I tried dandelion root cafe. So I did a lot of trials, but yeah, and I included also probiotics and fermented food and so on. And I think everything played a bit its own part to rebuild my system. And since then I am like touching wood, nothing happened. So, but I have been like lately having a lot of like anger and being angry. And when it does, so I have like a bit pain in my liver. So then I use bitter herbs for this purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. Because also like traditionally they say that anger resides in the liver. Yeah.
Yes. So and I had to like lately I had to use quite a strong one actually. I was actually using artichoke leaves. which is
Nice.
like really not so good to drink, but it was make me feel so good. So even if it was tasting bad, I would just drink my whole cup of artichoke leaves because it was make me feel so good.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, you see, you see.
yeah,
And then did you actually take the artichoke leaf and or was it dried or how?
yeah. So I got some from my mom in France. I dried them and I had them in a glass jar, dried. So I just make a tea when I need so.
Yeah, and
And
of course,
to make the taste a bit better, if not, I add licorice root and
which is sweet,
orange
sweetener.
peels. Yeah,
Mm,
orange peel also like a bit aromatic and a bit more
yeah,
moisturizing, a bit like your bitter blend actually.
balancing,
But
balancing.
mm,
Yes.
mm, mm,
And all these bitter herbs are like, oh, when you continue, like, they like help you with this, help you with that, with digestion. They help you like cleanse your liver. So then, of course, also if you have like skin issues,
mm,
it's really like helping. And we are using a lot of course, the happy bitters for my son now.
mm.
He's also using milk thistle and artichoke, an extract with artichoke also for um, hormonal acne.
Ah,
Yeah.
mm,
So of
mm,
course, I cannot stress enough that bitterness is so beneficial for us, like to integrate it in our daily
mm.
life. We need more bitterness, a little bit of bitterness.
So I think that will be our summary of this talk, like get
Yes.
bitter. Oh.
Yeah.
Get bitter herbs and they are so good for you. And yes, and I think today is the birthday of your son.
Yes.
So I will not retain you longer,
No,
and
thank you.
we will end this talk. But I would like to remind everyone, if you are interested in bitter herbs, to go and check Carmela Örtfabriken website blog about all these articles about bitter herbs and of course her bitter blend.
Yes.
So thank you for today, and we hope to continue with this herb talk.
Thank you. Thank you, Agnes. Have a great day. And thank you, everybody.
Bye bye. Have a great day.
Yeah. Bye bye.